When'd you get baptized?
Probably early teenage years, probably 11, 12, 13, something. No, about 11 or 12.
Where was that?
We had a church-wide picnic, fellowship, and the pastor, which happened to be my uncle at the time, said we're also going to have baptisms, and if anybody wanted to get baptized. And I talked with God and decided that it was my time. A lot of other ones did too. So we ate and we fellowshipped, and then we had the baptism on somebody's farm, quiet lake. Had a little lake out there, and we all went in, and each person got baptized. And my mom always thought I'd come up speaking in tongues with other tongues, and I didn't then.
Do you now?
Oh yeah.
Now, is it a tongue that I would understand?
No. I use it as my prayer language between me and God. I don't even know what I say, but God does, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. You got other gifts too, don't you? Mm-hmm. What's probably your primary gift?
Prayer, interceding for people. God gives me words for some people, but not all the time like you see prophets or this or that. Hospitality.
So you met Jeff, you got married, mm-hmm. You're now living in Joplin. Mm-hmm. It's 2009 and there's a tornado in your hometown.
Yes.
May 13th, 2009.
Yes.
And so that thing came along. What was the path of that? Did it get your parents' house?
No, they live north of Novinger, like 4 miles. So this basically come down 6 and hit like right there on the just what was on 6, like the church and stuff like that. And then it took off to through the country and got north of Kirksville. Destruction through there too.
Yeah. I looked that up. That's like I think they have it under the Novinger-Kirksville tornado.
Yeah.
Were you in town that day?
No, I was in Joplin living my life.
All right. So you were living in Joplin May 22nd, 2011. There was an F5 that came through Joplin. Everybody in the world knew about that one.
Yes.
You had friends in in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they tried to get a hold of you.
Yes, they knew that. They heard it over there on TV, and because it was national, and they tried getting a hold of us, but of course all the power lines were down and the phone lines were down, and yeah.
They report you as missing?
They did, and another set of friends from Texas reported us missing because they knew kind of where our house was at, because our address started with 27, and they heard that it hit around 26th Street, and so they assumed that we were down there because they couldn't get a hold of us.
Were you down there?
No, we were up here visiting at the time.
So when the Novinger tornado came through, you were out of town?
Yes.
When the Joplin tornado came through, you were?
Out of town.
Out of town.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff's grandmother didn't make it through that.
No, she lived right in the path of the tornado on 26th.
Where was her house?
26th and Main.
Where'd they find her house afterwards?
It was there was an alleyway right behind her house, and it was my understanding, what I was told was that it was setting on, it had been picked up in it'd been picked up off the foundation and had been set on the house across the alley, and that's what saved that family.
So they were in the basement of their house.
Yeah, I'm assuming so, yes.
Probably about ready to get shredded.
Yes.
And her house comes and lands over them, protecting them.
Because she was in the house and not in her basement.
Yeah. Where'd they find her?
In the street, in front of her house.
Yeah. So she died that day.
Yes, she died that day.
That moment, pretty much. Somewhere between 5 and 6.
Yeah, it was so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was a little woman. So,
She wasn't going to be able to get those doors open to the cellar, was she?
No. And so she had an interior closet that she always went in if she couldn't. And that's where she was at, I'm assuming. And she was...
Was she a Christian?
Yes, she was a Christian. So thank God for that. So we do know where she was at, or where she went to.
So tornadoes don't really care whether you believe in Jesus or not, do they?
No.
Sometimes it's your time.
Yeah. And it was her time. We truly believe that.
Yeah.
Because she was going through stuff too, and we just truly believe that it was her time.
So this could have been an act of grace on her part, that she wouldn't have to deal with some of the things that she was going through. He just said, come on home. I'm going to make this easy on you.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. So I guess there's some comfort that can come out of that, at least for your family and Jeff's family.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So 522 again, that was 522 in 2011. 522 in 2018, I'd say that's probably one of the biggest storms you've ever faced.
Yeah.
What happened?
Um,
Where were you? Were you in town?
Yes, I was in town that day. That was the only one I was in. But it wasn't a tornado. Husband had been sick for quite a while. The state stepped in and said that he was going to have to be placed somewhere until he could get up walking, because he was a very large man and he had medical issues and wasn't walking. And so for the safety in our house and stuff, the state stepped in, and he was going to have to be evaluated first at the hospital. He went in on the 21st, the day before that, and passed away on the 22nd of May.
What time did you get to the hospital?
I was with him the whole time, but I had left for a little bit, and I was there around 9:30 that night.
So 9:30, right around 9:30, you come walking back in and you hear something.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you hear?
I heard this scream, and I was on the phone. And no, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember. I had just been on the phone, I'm trying to get my facts, sorry. Heard this scream, and it was his sister. She had come out the other doors from where he was at, screaming, and she was out of control, and we got her calmed down, and she goes, I know he's dead, I know he's dead. And we're all trying to calm her, saying, what happened? And she goes, they were up. I looked back, and they were already working on him, trying to revive him.
So what'd you do?
I was just, I don't remember what I did, but I ended up, my phone rang, and it was Jeff's mom, because I've been trying to get a hold of her to say he had been in the hospital and what they were doing. And about that time, the nurse come out the doors and pointed at me and pointed at his sisters and did the this. And we went back there, and we stood across from his room, which is at the nurse's station, and they were trying to revive him. The room was full, so we couldn't have went in anyway. And I just stood there and prayed and said, God, no. Once I collapsed, not because my knees just gave out. I was fine, but my knees gave out. My brother-in-law come over and had to lift me up, because he was a bigger guy too. And they were going to try and go again, and I'm like, somebody better get me a chair. Stood there, watched him, and I finally said, God, if you can't, if it's his time, you take care of him, I release him. And I basically said, Dad, because my dad was gone, my brother was gone, and my brother-in-law, and said, you guys take care of him. And that gave me peace. And they, just a minute or so after that, not long at all, they stopped, listened, and they looked up at the clock and pronounced him dead.
May's been a bad month.
Yes.
Tell me the things that happened in May.
Well, the 2009 tornado, then the 2011 tornado. 2009 was the one here at Novinger, Kirksville. 2011 was the Joplin. Then my dad passed away in May in 2015. The following year in May, my brother was diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer in May. He passed away shortly after that. And then Jeff passes in May. And then the following year in May was when my mother was diagnosed with cancer too.
Yeah. and then we got one more May. So exactly a year to the day that your husband passes on May 22nd in a town that shares his name, Jeff City. There's another tornado.
Yes, there is.
And that one happened when?
It started before midnight.
On the 22nd.
On the 22nd of May.
Yeah. There's a lot of May 22nds going on here, and I
Yes.
noticed that when I was when I was looking into your history, because you and I met at church, and we started talking, and some
Yeah.
other things started popping
Right.
up, and was like, okay, I need to take a look at this person's life because I think God's speaking through you and your experiences. And so all these May 22nds, I said, there's something in the numbers here.
Right.
Something's going to happen May 22nd. When exactly? I wanted to know exactly when Jeff passed. And I asked you to look. So you went where?
I first went to his death certificate, and it doesn't have the time on there. It just has the date and what he died of. And then I remembered that I had his death summary. And so I went looking, and it gave me the time. And you had asked me, and I said, I think it's around 10 o'clock p.m.
Yeah. And what did I say?
And you said, I would like to know the exact time.
Yeah.
So I looked that night, got curious before I went to bed, and looked it up, and the doctor said it happened at 22:05.
Yeah. So your husband died at 22:05 on 05/22. And that's the kind of thing we're looking at. All these 22:05s and 05/22s and all these things coming together. And these are the storms that are in your life.
Yes.
There's a little movie out there called Cars.
Yes.
And eventually it starts at Cars 1, goes to Cars 2, goes to Cars 3. In Cars 3, there's a female character that's facing a storm. Is that where you get the name of your channel?
Yes.
What does DD Cruise 522 stand for? I think it was Darla Dinaco or Dinaco Darla, right?
Dinaco Darla, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darla's in there somewhere, but I can't remember. But yes, it's Dinaco Darla Cruise 05/22.
Yeah.
Or 5/22.
Yeah.
Whichever one we put it as.
Yeah. I remember when I told in that Cars 3, McQueen gets her started in racing. So we figure racing is like evangelization.
Right. Right.
And so we decided that it's time for you to get a channel.
Yes.
That if McQueen was going to put Cruz in the race,
Uh-huh.
then I would have to get you your own channel and start you going. So that's what this is, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're doing.
There's more to that Cars thing, isn't there?
Yes.
We'll get to that in a little bit.